at a time. I get it. I just
You-
I was your nephew. You know,
I had to think about it. Like I'm
what's
like,
his name? You know what?
dang.
I think he might be 7, and his name is George. Man, I don't. 7 years old. You don't know.
Man, yeah, man,
That's
yeah.
hilarious.
I had to think about it. I'm at that age now where I got to think about stuff before I say it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
But as you guys can see, man, welcome back to another great episode. As always, I always got to give you guys an introduction for our next guest, man. He's the man, the myth, the legend. I call him the Godfather of Cincy comedy, man. He's been doing his thing, helping people get their foot in the door for numerous of years, man. I'm so glad that we got him on here today to be able to share that wealth and that knowledge coming off a fresh headline weekend, man. I'm so excited. We got Brian Million on the show, everybody. Brian, man, welcome, man. So glad
Thank
to
you,
have
man.
you on, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm excited. I'm glad you gave me a little bit of time. The name, bro. The comedian's in bed, bro.
And he doing it. He's in bed right now.
Yeah, I got the background because I wanted people to know I was in bed by myself. Because you got comedians plural in bed. I was gonna say, man, can we maybe for this episode we could change it to comedians in bunk beds or
Man,
beds in separate rooms or something? Because while I'm supportive, I'm not really secure. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I said, let me go ahead and do some artwork where there's a bed with podcast equipment with nobody else in the bed.
And the bed's not even made up.
No, because I kept it real, right? I kept it real. Yeah,
Man,
for sure.
sometimes before I try to like leave before work, I hear my mom's voice in my bed in my mind telling me to make up my bed. And I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna be late on purpose for this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you gotta obey moms for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. But no, man, I'm so glad we got you on the show, man. Yeah, like I like to call you like the Godfather of comedy for Cincinnati. If somebody hasn't stepped foot into that scene, they'll know who you are quickly. Are you born and raised from Cincinnati?
Yeah, I'm born in a little town north of Cincinnati called Middletown, Ohio. So it
Okay.
is right. There's an outlet mall. So it's the exit north of the outlet mall. So yeah, just right between Dayton and Cincinnati.
Yeah, man. I'm familiar with Middletown. I ran track a lot. Well, I ran track in high school, so we had a couple of meets there. My coach was from Dayton. What's it called? Lee's Fried Chicken?
Lee's famous recipe.
There we go. Yeah. Y'all only been there one time. Y'all be that's the first time I ever heard and seen gizzards. Is that what it is? The little chicken.
Yeah, they have chicken gizzards. Yeah. I don't know what it is.
I was like, what is? I'm like, I don't want that. Nah.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. That means you probably at the time that was an indication that you was gonna graduate high school. Like that was yeah, that's a good call. No disrespect to people who like gizzards, but I'm not putting anything in my mouth. I've got 2 Z's in it, bro. That's not I'm not gonna do it. It seems too complicated. It seems too complicated. Yeah. But yeah, so Lee's famous recipe. We used to do that every Sunday. My pops, we would go to church, get it out of church at 1, and he would swing by Lee's every Sunday without fail. Dinner at 1 for some reason, and then didn't eat the rest of the day. So yeah, Lee's famous recipe.
Did you like when you were in high school? Did you like? Because I know y'all got some famous people that came from Middletown. Were you in class with any of other famous people that? I mean, you're famous yourself, so that's one. But like anybody else besides you, did you go to school with anybody famous in Middletown?
Yeah, we so Middletown is primarily known for athletes. And so, Kyle Schwarber, he was a young kid that just came through. He's now in the big leagues. Kayla Harrison, who's now MMA. I think she's doing or UFC or something, but she's a gold medalist in judo. Chris Carter was back in my day, Hall of Famer. We were almost like a pipeline to Ohio State. So a lot of our athletes came out of a high school and then went straight. to Ohio State. So Todd Bell played. Actually, he played for the Bears, Cincinnati Bears. I mean, the Chicago Bears in '84, and sat out the year they went to the Super Bowl. He was a contract disputer, holding out for his contract. And the year he decided to hold out, they went and won the Super Bowl with the Super Bowl shuffle. So, yeah, there's a lot of history in Middletown, mostly athletes. Yeah, for sure, mostly athletes.
Yeah, man, that Dayton area, it breeds a lot of athletes for sure. Did you play sports in high school?
I did. I played all sports growing up, and then basketball and football in high school, and then played basketball in college. I forgot about my nephew, Jalen Marshall. He's actually came out of went to Ohio State and played in the league, the Jets and the Raiders and so forth. But yeah, I think that at the time, like when I was growing up, that's what you did. You know, now the kids got the internet and they can stay focused, social media and whatever. But if you wanted to do something when I was growing up, yeah, you had to. It was always athletics. That was it.
Yeah. That seems to be the way to go. My both of my high school coaches, they went to Dayton Dunbar.
Okay, yeah.
They were tough.
yeah, Dayton Dunbar. Every school with Dayton is tough, and they have mad athletes coming out of Dayton. So that was yeah.
So were you like the class clown in high school? How do we a city that's known for breeding athletes, and then here you are, Mr. Funny Man. Were you the class clown in high school?
I was not. Listen, here's the thing about me, bro. And I didn't realize this until much earlier. I didn't even think I was funny.
Mm-hmm.
But when people found out that I was in comedy, they would tell me I was the funniest person they had ever known in their life. Mm-hmm. And what that says to me was that when I was coming up, I was enjoying myself. And it was funny, but I wasn't trying to make people laugh, nor did I really pay attention to whether they were laughing. It was literally if I was laughing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I came back. I went to school and then went to the Air Force, and I came back and I was at a barber down in Cincinnati, and he used to cut the players' hairs to the Reds, the Bengals, and it was a really popular barber shop. And I didn't really realize I was funny until what happened was the people that would get their hair cut before me would stay after while I was there. And the people who would get their hair cut after me were coming in earlier. Mm-hmm. And we were just holding court and just having fun. And so that's when I realized I was funny. I was always, you can make people laugh, you think in Middletown, but when you go to Cincinnati or like some of the bigger cities, like those cats really know about funny kind of stuff. And so I wasn't sure. Yeah. But then it just came natural, bro. So I don't remember being funny. I do remember having a great time growing up, but I never really tried to be funny. But yeah, my teachers would tell you a different story. My friends would tell you a different story. All of them would tell you a different story, but I just didn't have that perspective.
Yeah. So what was it the barbershop that, getting those laughs that made you like, you know what, maybe I should try this out? Did somebody encourage you to do that, or how was your first time?
Yeah, somebody encouraged me. And I just actually saw her maybe a few weeks ago at the grocery store. But so I was working at the bank, which is now Chase. It was at Bank One at the time. Mm-hmm. And the head of my department, I went to church with and had grown up with her in church. And actually, matter of fact, in church, they thought I was going to be a pastor, which is crazy to me because I was like, what do you mustn't see me on Friday. You know what I'm saying? Like you saw me on Sunday, but I think what they meant was, and how I took it to be was that I was going to be in front of people. Mm-hmm. They just in Middletown, it was the thought process was just if you're going to be in front of people and speaking, it would be in the church. I think is kind of where their space was. But it was a lady, Tony Brooks, who was the manager of the department, and she said, "Hey, have you ever thought about doing comedy? They're having a contest at a club. It was called Joker's Comedy Club. It was in Dayton, right behind the Dayton Mall. It's closed down now. I think there's a Walmart there now or something. The legends used to go through there, but I'd never been to the comedy club." And she said they're having a contest. And at the time, and this will kind of give a little hint to my age, whatever, but it was the Jay Leno Tonight Show Comedy Challenge or something like that. And I got in there and won it. And it was like, and it was just great. Now, you and I know now about the contest and how they are funniest person, whatever. But I wasn't at the time. I was like, okay, this is kind of like that was the it. I didn't realize it was more, you know what it is. It's just to get business during the summer months and that kind. I didn't see it that way. I just saw it was a contest and I won it. And dude, it was amazing. I remember getting on stage and telling my first joke that was probably just a stupid joke. You know, it was the first time you're on stage, but it was in a completely dark room and that laughter came and it was like
Mhm.
an explosion. It
Mhm.
just, it went through me
Yeah.
almost like electricity. It was just like a huge, and again, it might have been a stupid joke. I don't even know. They could have been laughing at me and not with me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember I said something and it just came like somebody shot electricity through me. And then that was all it took. Yeah. So that's where I got started. Yeah. Recommendation. Somebody I respected said, give it a shot. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, man. How long have you? I never asked. Like, how long have you been in the game?
So I'm going to try not to date myself. I would say that I started so I went to college, went to the Air Force, came out of the Air Force, worked at the bank because I just thought that's what I was supposed to do. You go to college because
Mhm.
you're supposed to do it. Air Force was or military because my grandfather was both my grandparents were in the military. Came back, worked at a bank because that's what you do after college. Um, and so I did that, and that's when Def Jam hit and came, there. So we did it, and you were like, there was no black comics when I was coming
Mhm.
through. Like there was Cosby and Chris Rock was about to drop Bring the Pain, and there was that kind of stuff. But until Def Jam hit, you couldn't go to a comedy club and see black people on stage. That just wasn't. It just wasn't. And so Def Jam hit, and then created a demand. People wanted to see black people on stage,
Mhm.
and that's when I got started. And we were making so much money. I remember doing college shows, 15 minutes, $2,500, just
Mhm.
insane. I never did a
Yeah.
bar show, never did an
Okay.
open mic, none of that. And so I took it for granted, really. And I remember one. I'm not going to drop the money, but one month it was a Black History Month. Me and a guy plotted out a tour. It was 28 days or 29 days, and we did 32 colleges. And I
Yeah.
just thought that money was always going to be there. And
Uh-huh.
so I met a woman. She had 2 kids, got married. Then I had kids and a mortgage. And I was like, listen, it's time for me to grow up and put
Yeah.
this degree to work and all that other stuff. So I never really thought comedy was ever going to be like a career. That was never my path. So I think a lot of
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
probably ADD. And so then
Yeah.
I stopped. You know what I'm saying? When I look at my life, you don't realize that you look at your life until you look at the whole thing. You're like, you know what? I probably got something. And so then I got married, but then I had kids. And then when I went and got divorced years later, there was just me and my girls in
Mhm.
school, and here it was nothing for me going to work at the bank and then the kids. And so that's when I got back on comedy, back into comedy, October of 2011. So that's my
Okay.
official start date,
Yeah.
October 2011. Because before it was just fun. I wasn't
Yeah.
into writing. I was doing Barney jokes, Lorena Bobbitt, just stupid jokes. And it didn't
Yeah.
matter. And you didn't have to work for it.
Yeah.
Now it turned into writing. And that was at Go Bananas in October of 2011. It's a
I
long
used
way to
to.
go, man. Should I be more succinct with these answers? I'm going to run out of time.
No, 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 no. You're fine. You're fine. I
All
don't
right.
mind. I was probably probably like 2 years ago. It's not on there anymore. I think I was doing it last year too. I was watching Amazon Prime. They had Def Comedy Jam, all the episodes on
Yeah.
there. And one thing I realized, I'm not saying that you do this because you don't, but one thing I realized is that I feel like people who grew up watching Def Comedy Jam, they try to still do comedy that way, and
Yeah.
that's fine. But it's not necessarily done that way anymore. So how did you go from, seeing and being inspired from Black comics doing Def Comedy Jam and like making it to your own routine now?
There's a guy out of Columbus. You're in Columbus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keith Bender. Do you know him?
Mm-hmm.
Keith said to me, don't try to sell wine to beer drinkers. Find out who you are. And which I tell the guys getting on stage now. When you came and did my mic, I said that you may have been there when I said I was like, just be comfortable, because if you're worried about trying to do this or that, then that's where the anxiety kind of comes in, nervousness or whatever. So just try to find out who you are on stage. And so that was the journey. When I started, again, you did with the stuff you saw on stage.
Mhm.
And it was paying so much money, and you could walk around like you was a star. This is before social media. I remember Vince Morris. You know Vince Morris?
Mhm.
So Vince, I remember we were at Joker's in the back watching somebody, and he said something about, man, I gotta get on this this MySpace thing. I don't know. I said, what the hell is MySpace? He said, man, I don't know, but that's the thing that we got to do. And so it was well before all of that stuff. And so it was, you weren't trying to make an impression. You were literally just living in your own almost village. But when I came back in 2011, it had changed. That money wasn't there. And now you got to go out, you have to write. And so when I dig into anything, I want to do it well. And so then I started buying books. I wasn't trying to be the really animated cat on stage and, just doing crazy. I wanted to have substance in the jokes and thought out and clever. And I used to say smart comedy, but I think people would get offended by that because it was like I was saying other comedy was dumb. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when I said smart, I meant that you challenged yourself to see things that other people didn't see and make that funny. And that came when I got back in 2011. And so, just a bunch of books and all that. But at the time, back when Def Jam and all that came through, you just rode the wave because it was, we were just kids, bro, just coming through and, just doing it.
Even now, like comedy has changed. Like, I think before I got in it, before COVID, I don't think too many people was posting reels, but like now, reels is like the thing to do. And for me, it's kind of like
for the reels.
Yeah. Oh, that's what's up. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, man. It's a little at first it was a little nerve-wracking, like, do I really want my jokes out there? But then I was like, I don't really care. And then it's like it become like a job as well. It seems like comedy is always changing. Like, what do you think the future of comedy is going to be now that everybody is posting material on work and basically their social media is their resume?
I think it's great. When I was coming through, you had to go. You pay a photographer, you get headshots, you have to have a professionally printed resume, you got addresses to clubs, and you start sending out packages with VHS tape. You know what a VHS tape is?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you sent those out. And so there's some guys who may not know when technology was coming through, they would have like a Betamax tape, but people didn't have Betamax VCRs. And so they wasted money or whatever. But so you had postage and you paid $4 or $5 to send this thing to clubs who would never call you. You'd have to call them. It was a voicemail and there's no emails. And it was a pain. And then when you connected with someone from across the country, it's not like you have a relationship with them. You try to create a relationship with somebody on the phone who's getting a million phone calls. Could you imagine a million calls? That's just how you communicated with people, no email. And that was a pain, but there was a gatekeeper and they had their favorites because it's all about a relationship game. Now it's different. Now it's your work. The internet changed everything. And so it's just, are you willing to work? Back in the day, people would George Wallace would have an hour that he worked for 15 years. You didn't have to change it. And so you can kind of rely on that and, not really challenge yourself. And so now it's different and you have to put in the work. There's no gatekeepers. You just have to do it. So I love it. It challenges me and hopefully people embrace that challenge. And it's really about being creative. And you realize it's a numbers game. You have to throw up 100 jokes. You got to write constantly. Either stream of conscious in the journal so you can find your authentic topics, or you have to make a plan if you're going to do well at it. Chris Rock said once that people who become famous are the people who want it. The people who are in Hollywood or in the comedy stages aren't always the most talented people, but they're the people who want it the most. And if you want it, then you'll get it. You'll find a way, to do it. And a part of that is writing. So I love it. The reels, you don't have to put your actual jokes on reels, some of them, but you can do some crowd work, which is a great muscle to do. I love working with the crowd, but when I was coming up, people thought that made you a weaker comic. They thought you didn't know how to do jokes, whereas I did it because I needed that energy. Like when I'm
Yeah.
talking to the audience and whatever, I need that to keep me into it. Because like I said, I know I have undiagnosed ADD, and if I'm just up there just doing the same jokes all the time, that would just get boring to me. So I need to
Yeah.
make those unique experiences or whatever. Well, now people love that, and now that's what a lot of these reels are. Matt Rife, who came out of Columbus, I've known him for 10 years. I posted a picture of me and him when he was, I think, 15 years old at the Columbus Funny Bone. Now he's out there doing these. I think he did the Red Flag something. It was just a crowd work, an hour special, And so now it's just flexing different muscles. So I'm all for it. What do I see going forward? I think we're in the new thing now where people are self-producing these comedy specials. They're not waiting for Netflix, because when you create that content, then you can do branded deals, and it just starts connecting you to all of these other sources. So it's very interesting, man. I love it, bro. I love it.
I love it too. I feel like I felt like at first I was a little overwhelmed by it, but then I was like, bro, you actually know how to do this, because I used to be a TV news and sports reporter, and I used to intern in the newsroom. So I was like, all the editing, all the videotape, like I know how to do all that. It was just like, oh shoot, I got to do it again. You know what I'm saying? Like type
yeah. But you
so
had that muscle. A lot of people
yeah.
don't have the muscle, and so like for example, me, it was literally YouTube on how to do that stuff. But again, if you want it, you'll do the work. But when you have that muscle, then you can flex it so many different ways. But it can be overwhelming. It can be daunting. It can be frustrating when you go do and you think you put something up dope and you get 10 views. Then it's like, why am I doing that? So much, you know what I mean? It's crazy. But that process is just like writing jokes. You got to write 100 jokes to come up with 10 great ones, that type of stuff. And so you just have to keep doing it until I believe that people, like when you go through it, you should try to get better. Mr. B said this. You should try to get better every time. And so whether maybe it's the lighting, maybe it's the script, maybe it's the audio equipment, maybe it's the pacing of it, but always try to find a way to make it a little bit better the next time. And in his advice was do 100 videos and then we'll talk. You want my advice? Do 100 videos first. So you have to knock all that stuff off. So you already have that muscle, but people who don't, you just got to put it down and do it. Or listen, life is choice consequence. So you don't have to do it, but your consequences is going to be very limiting, and then you're going to be wondering why other people have what you want.
I think the first time I did it, it was to promote a show. I don't know why, and then the first time I really started to do it consistently was actually when I would come to your mic, because there wasn't too many I'm trying to find the video. It wasn't too many opportunities to work a mic at a club, and you were providing that opportunity. So I was like, I'm gonna take that drive. I actually got a good story for you. One night I was supposed to be at the Funny Bone here, and they forgot to put my name on the list, and then I went up to him and told him, which is something I had to like take a deep breath to do, because usually I'm not a non-confrontational person, and it wasn't confrontational, but I would always see people come up to them and with this negative energy and be like, you forgot to put me on the list, like you're trying to sabotage, so I wasn't trying to come at them like that. But then they finally put me on the list, and they was like, all right, we put you last. And then like we was getting close to the end of the show, and they was like, yeah, man, sorry, like the show's running too late, we're going to take you off. And I was a little salty, but I was like, all right, it's cool. I get it. And I was like, I'm going to Cincinnati tomorrow anyways to get on that show. So it's cool. And that was the night that you came up to me and was like, hey, how long you been doing comedy? We got to get you on one of these showcases. So I think like the old me probably would have been like, you know what, man, F this, like, but like, it's really that consistency. And, sometimes when you get a no, that next opportunity could be, that yes. So I actually want to thank you for that. And not only thank you for that, but just thank you for your open mic, because it has like made me better. And I am always willing to take that drive, because it has really made me better, because that was the first club that I was getting like consistent like reps for like an open mic.
Yeah, you're always welcome. Always welcome. When I came through, there was not a lot of that mentorship. There just wasn't. And so I had to find a way to do things. And it's a lot of trial and error. And, I just headlined Go Bananas, but I've worked Go Bananas in 10 years, 11, 12 years, I've worked Go Bananas maybe 5 times. And a lot of that's on me because I didn't reach out and say, can I have a week? I just, you see me there, people are getting booked. So I didn't realize the back, kind of how to do that and to get booked, or I didn't want to be a nuisance with people. So I just tried to stay my space. But, there was a lot of, but people didn't tell me what to do. You just kind of had to figure it out. And so the way I approach it now is to try to give game to people who are trying to do it. And I have had to learn, most people say they want it. They want that quick, get me on, blah, 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 just plug me in type of stuff, and not recognizing that what I'm giving them is plugging them in. But I'm not going to bake cake for you, but I'll tell you where the ingredients are. I'll tell you here, but you got to do something, do some of the work. So yeah, I was happy to do it. And anytime I see anybody, like, you're super talented and very unique in your point of view. So I don't say that to me. I probably said that to, we've done I think we're going into our second year now, and I probably have said what I said to you maybe a half a dozen or fewer times. So if I see it, then I try to recognize it and point it out. So yeah, you're always welcome, man, and just keep grinding. But the main thing I would say to you and everybody is to just always work on getting better when you're on that stage. There's always ways that you can get better. So for example, I saw you doing a video. Mark Vieira once, he told me, really great comic. I don't know if you know Mark, but super funny, super funny. Puerto Rican, out of New York, super funny. He's done stuff with True TV, and really nice guy. And he said, we were audio recording at the time. You couldn't do it on the phone, so you had like the little audio recorders or whatever. He said, man, get you a video camera so that you can see how you're performing that joke, and try to perform it different ways to see if you can increase the funniness of it. And so it wasn't just audio, but it was also video to do it. So it was writing and whatever. So always try to improve it. Never rest. Never think that joke is great. Let me just whatever. You can always polish it. How long you been in the game?
Going on 4 in October.
Yeah, so you can always, especially at where you are in the space, you can always, don't ever assume you can't improve it. Keep writing, but also keep trying to perfect the joke. And then one day you'll say something. And I got this joke that so I've been telling this joke about, because they're getting older, and self-care, I guess, for men. And so my dad is he was a prostate cancer survivor. And so he did that because he did what the doctors told him to do all the time. Every year, any test, he just did it. And so they detected the prostate cancer by an exam. And so he said, listen, you have to go. And if it's not for you, you do it for your family or whatever. So I turned that into this bit. And I did that because it was real to me. And Black men need to be encouraged to do that because we find it emasculating, and we're not willing to put ourselves through that because the world tries to do that to us. And so, but you have to do it. It's real important. So I went and I started telling that joke, and my point of view was about the ridiculous anguish that we go through. Like, it's a big deal, but it's not a big deal. And so the contrast is how we're doing that, but then how women see us as, can we curse, man?
Yeah, you go.
So how women see us as bitches to do that, because they go through, their women's annual exams is just ridiculous. And so how we made it up there. So I went through this whole deal about how I said, make sure after your exam, you have somebody to talk to, because it's going to be a bad day. You need somebody. This is not going to be a regular Tuesday for you. And so I talked about how I was divorced. So I had to go. I went to my mom, and then my mom went through this whole process. She called me a bitch for complaining about it, whatever. And then this was her justification. So she said, you came to me to tell me if somebody stuck a finger in your booty, you're going to interrupt my stories. I'm watching The Young and the Restless. Victor Newman is about to do some shit. And you come over here to interrupt my stories. Shut your bitch ass up. Do you know your daddy tried to stick both his thumbs in my ass last night? And I was like, oh. So then I go, so then that was funny. So the more I'm working on this joke, then it gets to the point where I said, so I wanted to ask my dad, I wanted to, are you thinking this through? What are you thinking, bro? And
Yeah.
then she's 72. And then that why do you she's 72 years old, bro? What are you thinking? And then so then I keep going and I'm working it. This is over years of coming up. And then my dad says, well, I don't know. I was watching Pornhub and it said, yeah, you go on stage. And so, and then you just stick them in. And so what happened when I'm on stage, and I did that got a little laugh. Well, last week I got in there and I started doing like it. Come on, man, push back on it. And I was, and it just, by the time I get into that bit now, it is like this huge thing.
Yeah.
And all of that came from me just being comfortable on stage, just keep trying to work and be more demonstrative and learning the techniques of comedy and how to explore it or heighten it. And all of that stuff comes, just from playing. So I guess what I started all that to say that when you're doing things and you get that laugh, you can always push it. You can just find ways to look at a different angle. And what if I didn't say this and just heighten? There's a game that I think they do it at improv, and it says like, if this is true, what else is true? So if it's true that my dad tried to put both thumbs like in my mom's behind or whatever, then what else is true? Why is that true? Well, then that's how I got to the Pornhub thing, and then the how much so now he's taking it as a challenge. My father was a competitive person. You can do it. You know what I'm saying? And so it just turns crazy. So anyway, it's always, I would just encourage you. You're really, really funny. You have really, really great stage presence. So I would say, just keep working on it to make it as funny as you can, and never assume it can't be funnier.
I appreciate those kind of words, man. I definitely think you are hilarious as well. Once again, I'm gonna give you your props because your mic definitely helped me with that. I remember it wasn't the first time I told it, but the first time I told it that you're at the Funny Bone in Liberty, the hairline joke.
That's the one I remember, bro. That's that one. I was like, oh my God. And then the thing is, because your hairline is still a little, so it's authentic. It's you.
Yeah. And that joke I have since the time you heard it, I have like switched that joke like so many times around, except like the first part, because I knew that was the bread and butter. But like I have switched that joke like so many times just to try to make it funnier and more real and things of that nature. And at first I really didn't think people would get it, because like I'm still trying to get, I think I'm like probably like 80% done of like trying to just be like, okay, I got white jokes, I got black jokes. I'm just trying to have like all jokes. But I wasn't sure if white people would understand that, because black people know what we talking about. Like fresh cut Friday, you got the fresh cut. And if your barber don't post you, you kind of feel some type of way about it. You know what I'm saying? Sure. So that's why I was kind of thinking, and I just kept working and kept working and kept working. And I feel like I got at a solid place right now, but I'm always like, even when I feel like a little stale, or if I'm like, okay, I can't come up with nothing new, I'm going to go back, look at jokes and try to punch them up.
Yeah. And so, yes, I would caution you not to look at what white people will get or what black people will get.
Yeah.
We all have a human experience. And if your joke is trending towards a white perspective or a black perspective, it should be a Thai perspective. And when you tell the joke, if you get too specific, that's when it turns into this black-white thing. What you want to do is try to get more narrow to find out what is it about this experience that will connect all people, and then take it to your specific, right? And so, I mean, women don't understand the prostate exam. So then I had to talk about it from my thought perspective and then make that funny. And so I've told that joke around the country to different audiences, and everybody gets it. And so if you are even having a black experience, if you can root it, kind of reduce it down to find out, just asking questions, what is about this will connect all people? We all have the same needs, and want to be understood and loved and communication and all of those things. Find out what it is. You can give me any joke. And so what you're talking about with your hairline joke is that's just your appearance. So
Yeah.
anybody that goes to beauty shops or barber shops do that. And so why do they do that? Let's take it out of the barber shop. Why do people go? Because they want to improve their appearance. And then you want to know, not only do you, if you look good for you, but you want to know that it looks good for other people. Well, how do you know that? Well, they're putting it on their Instagram page. So
Yeah.
everybody can get that if you look at it from that way. So I would caution you against, it's limiting when you start to try to find something black or white. If you just find a human thing that connects it, the human experience, then you can touch everybody.
And that's
matter and whatever. Yeah.
And that's when I started to find more success, and it became a little bit more easier and
Yeah, for sure.
on the pathway of finding like my voice. Just what do I want to talk about and not make it so specific. And I also learned something else from you too, because I have like I've talked about it, like I have like bad anxiety and sometimes I've like, I haven't done it in a while, but I've had like panic attacks on stage that you just can't tell. But when I did the showcase, that was my first ever showcase, which I have learned so much from that show.
Yeah.
But I learned like what joke, because I go after white women. Like, so.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
like,
you were really, because I came up I come up right after you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, white people, I'm so sorry. I didn't get those jokes beforehand. I didn't get the transcript, but I just want you to know he's not from here.
I learned so much from that night about like how to arrange a set. So that was the first thing I learned. But another thing I learned was just because I had never been to the main room, and the stage is much smaller than the one here. And I saw just how you was just chilling and you was just relaxed. And I was like, oh, we can do that. Okay, cool. Like I'm not going to do that. Yeah. So then
you have to be comfortable. If you're not comfortable, that's where a lot of the anxiety comes. When you are, I'm sorry, go ahead. I cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna finish up by saying like, so the next time I went to a Funny Bone, the one in Toledo, their stage is small too. And I was just like, I'm just gonna chill. I'm just gonna do exactly what Brian. I'm just gonna stay right here on this wall. And I was very comfortable and I had a very good set.
Now you want to move a little bit because you want to engage everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't just stand there. When you're moving, it makes people continue to stay focused on you a little bit. So you don't want to necessarily have to prowl the stage, but you want to do it in a way that you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. But you moving, the benefit is it engages. So if you, for example, post up and you're just doing it in the right half of the stage, then the left half may not feel as connected and wonder what the right half getting something. So you want to make sure that you are taking care of the whole audience, because that energy will spill over. So if they're tight, eventually that stuff will come over to this side. So I would definitely say work the room in a way that you're comfortable. But you'll find that you can be comfortable doing this. And sometimes you can use a joke. I'll say something on stage and I'll act like I may have maybe upset somebody, and I'll say, I'm gonna come over here and talk to these people because you calm down, and I'll move over. You know what I'm saying? And so the point is, I'm not worried about upsetting them because we're at a comedy club, but I'm just trying to find a way to segue back to the other space. Let me ask you, what's your joke writing process from idea to I'm gonna take this on stage? What's the writing?
Usually like something will just pop in my head. Sometimes like when I'm chilling with my homies, we'll just talk and I'll be like, oh shoot, I forgot that happened. Let me write this down. Or like if I'm talking to my mom who inspired me to do comedy, she should be a comic herself. Like we'll just have conversations. I'll be like, oh, this is funny. But usually like I'll just be in my own head and a joke, a premise will pop in and I'll just write it down and I'll leave it alone if I don't feel inspired to go after it. And then once I sit down, I do it like twice out the week, or I try to do it twice to 5 times. I'll sit down for an hour and write, and I'll be like, okay, what can we? So this is one joke I'm working on now. I just wrote down, I was writing jokes about my dad, and one time my dad, he took me to Kmart to go get some Velcro shoes, like the ones with the Velcro strap for like gym shoes. And I just wrote that down in my notepad, and it's been sitting there for a while. And then I looked at it a couple weeks ago and I was like, I was gonna add it like as a tag to like one of my dad's jokes. And I was like, no, we could just tell this whole story. So I just wrote down the whole story about how he's supposed to give me gym shoes. And instead of taking me to the mall, which was right around the corner, this nigga took me to Kmart. And my mom was very, very upset about that and like took them shoes back.
Your
So that's
parents work
one.
together, or they
No,
were
they weren't. No, they weren't
okay.
together. So that's one thing I'll do. Like I'll write just a line and just let it sit there until I can think of something. But most of the time, like I'll just come up with like a random premise, and then I'll be like, okay, what's the objective here, and how can we stay on this topic? Because sometimes I'll veer off, and I'll be like, how can we stay on this topic, and what are like some these tags that I'm writing, like how are they supporting the premise that I'm saying to
Yeah.
get me to where I want to get to. So that's pretty much my process for real. The worst thing I hate about my process is when I come up with a joke while I'm riding on the freeway, because sometimes I real risk my life. I know that's not good, but
You risk your life and the person next to you life. So no, that's not good. You're not to just driving by yourself on the freeway. Yeah, that's not that funny. Whatever. I don't care what you
yeah,
got right there. Yeah,
that's what I be saying in my head. I'll be driving. I'm like, bro, it's not that funny,
it's
bro.
not
Just
that funny.
just
And
wait.
listen, God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for everybody. I mean, I'm speaking on behalf of everybody. We appreciate you. Thanks.
What's your process
Well,
like?
and this is what I was going to challenge you. Um, First of all, you have to write every day. You want
Mm-hmm.
to get better, you got to write every day. And it's got to be a habit. Now, you don't have to write jokes every day. So this is how, and this is my process, but I didn't originate this process. There's a guy named Tommy Johnigan who, if you're not familiar, just he's got this album called Three. He had it 1, 2, and 3. I think he's at others. I don't know that he's performing so much anymore. He's now in LA. Um, he sold TV shows but really, really nice guy. I think he's out of St. Louis, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But he's come to Cincinnati a lot. So that whole St. Louis, Louisville, Chicago, Cincinnati, all of that area. It's like home to a lot of different solid comics. And so Tommy was on Bert Kreischer's podcast, and he said this, and I asked him about it later. He said, first you want to write every day, stream of conscious. So every day for a set amount of time, whatever the time that you're going to do it. Don't say you're going to write for an hour. You can't write for an hour a day. You can say I want to write for 5 minutes a day,
Mm-hmm.
which ain't shit. You should write more than that. But if you want to start at 5 minutes, just do something that you're going to do every day. And then you're going to write a stream of conscious. You know what that is? Stream of conscious.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a diary. You're just saying, you could be writing, I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to say. This is stupid. This is so stupid. Why is it so stupid? There's such so stupid. And then it takes you off from whatever. You're not writing jokes. You're just writing the stream of conscious. When you're writing that way, try to add emotion in that. So if something is stupid, why is it stupid? And, oh yeah, I hated this because blah, 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 blah. That emotion is what fuels the joke. Okay. So write that way. And then Tommy says he has 2 notebooks. One where he's writing a stream of conscious, and then that's, let's say, January. He's doing that. And then the next month he starts a new notebook. So he's got a January notebook, he's got a February notebook. So in his February notebook, when he's writing a stream of conscious, he does that for the day, and then he'll go back to the January notebook with fresh eyes. And he's just going to read through the day on that journal. One day he's just going to do each day or 2, however long he does it. But what he's looking for is premises or ideas or emotions. Or in comedy, the attitudes are weird, hard, scary, and stupid. So is there something stupid about it? And a lot of times there's not going to be anything on those. You're not writing for jokes. You're just writing your stream of conscious. Those are your authentic topics. That's going to help you develop your point of view. If I told you Chris Rock, Bernie Mac, Patrice O'Neill, and Jerry Seinfeld went to go buy a car, and then I didn't tell you who this was, but I described the experience of buying a car, you would know whether it was Seinfeld or Bernie Mac or whatever. And so that's your point of view. It's hard to intentionally write out a point of view when you're getting started. But when you're writing that stream of conscious, that's your point of view. And you're not trying to write jokes. So you'll go back each day. Let's say you're doing it. Let's say you are committed to doing it for 15 minutes a day. So by the time February comes, you're going to do your February stream of conscious for 15 minutes. And then for the next 15 minutes, you're going to read the pages and just start highlighting highlighting topics or experiences that you want to talk about, something that came out, and it could be nothing or whatever. And again, you're not going to try to get a lot out of those things. A lot of it is just It's just a process of writing, getting your mind doing, and you have to do these things the first thing in the morning because you just come out of the dream state. So your mind is super creative. You try to do it in the middle of the day, it's not going to work. Before your feet hit the floor, start doing that stuff on your phone or whatever, 15 minutes, set a timer. What will happen is now you have these different topics. Then you take those topics and then you're going to start researching or exploring the topics. So all the different parts of it. So I'm going to buy the shoes at Kmart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so who's that? So buy shoes at Kmart. So you got your dad and then your mom and then Velcro and then the shoes are Velcro. So then you maybe put cheap and then Nikes and all of these different aspects of this stuff. You're just doing a mind map on all of those different things. So now what you'll be able to see is you have these different shoes or the Velcro shoe thing. You have all this stuff that ties into it. And then once you're building a set, you have other things that can tie into those things. Right. And so that's how it starts turning out into like this big bouquet of jokes. And so then what are the parts of this? What do you do after that? And then so you start researching it. Then once you have that, that's when you could take that stuff and write jokes. When you're in a creative space, that stuff will just jump out of the page at you because you've done all of this work where you're not trying to be funny. It's right brain versus left brain kind of deal. Now you have that. That's where you can start writing. And then it comes up. And then what happens is it makes you unique. So then the clubs and whoever's booking you, you ever said, Patrice O'Neal is?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes people think, man, I wonder what Patrice O'Neal would think about this whole whatever's going on in society, right? People will start saying that about you. You'll start connecting with a base of people that will follow your logic and then what I mean? That'll be your tribe of people.
Yeah.
That's how you start doing it the right way. Or you can go try to be funny.
Yeah.
But that's hard to do. You know what I'm saying? If you try to write from funny, that's like running sprints. With this, I'm telling you, is a marathon, cross country type stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That's how you want to try to do it to come up with authentic topics. Was that your nephew?
No. That was
Bing bang.
A little track. I dropped that because you just dropped knowledge. That's why we got you on the show.
Oh, word. I thought, I didn't know.
No,
we talked about earlier, so I didn't want to.
He probably in there sleep. I don't know what he's doing. He's at that age where he might be touching himself. I don't know. Well.
Oh my god.
Okay, I'll go in there. I'll be all right.
Hey, not in my bed. You see my bed still icky, bro. You ain't in my shit. Now you got comedians in bed, and it's a kid going around here. What kind of shit have you got me into, cuz?
Yeah, you can get what you about to get. Yeah, you can get some. Don't eat them all, but you can get some. Yeah, right on cue.
That's hilarious. Comedians in bed with a kid, bro. What kind of shit is going on, bro? That's crazy, man.
Man, I was just out of the name just dropped in my spirit. I was like, it sounds weird, but it's a catchy title.
Yeah.
What? Well, hold on. Let me drop this real quick. Hold on. You did just do your first headline weekend at the famous Go Bananas Club. So here at Comedians in Bed, we like to say, congratulations. Yes. Was fair.
Won't he do it?
How was that experience, man? Was family and friends there? Like, I know I'll let you tell the story because I kind of got a sense of what happened, but I'm not sure. So, but I was happy when I seen that you got that and you got your picture on the wall and everything, man. How was that experience?
I love Go Bananas, and it is annually voted one of the top 5 comedy clubs in the country. The staff, the environment, you've been there. It is just an amazing place that supports local comedy. And I think it's a privilege to hit that stage anytime that you get there. And it's always been a dream, but I never really, again, pursued or asked for it. And then there's a guy that Renan, I forget his whole name, but he was supposed to be there, but he caught COVID. And so they needed somebody to fill in for him. And so they asked me, and I was actually I was headed up to Chicago. My nephew had his graduation party, which was a really, really, really big deal to him. And I think there was maybe 100, 125 people that were coming over to the house. It was a big deal. DJ, photographer, blah, blah, blah. So I was going to do that on Friday, and then Beyonce was coming in, and my sister got a suite at the show, and then she got tickets on the floor for the next night because you could get the tickets on the floor. Whatever. It was a big weekend.
Yeah.
And they called me, and I didn't even think twice about it. I was like, yes, I'm definitely going to do it.
Yeah.
Got in there, and dude, so, and you're going to start seeing these little reels. We were talking about reels earlier, but they gave me clips of all the shows.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm gonna chop those things up and to put them up there. But it was just, it wasn't a large crowd. A lot of times in the summertime, those crowds aren't big, and particularly if you're gonna kind of start a headlining journey, if that's what this is. Normally, new people are going to start in the summer because, again, it's a smaller crowd or whatever. But the way I looked at it was that they needed somebody. It's a business to them, and could they count on me? They wanted to find somebody that they could count on that would deliver for the audience that came and just have a good time, show up on time, and do all the stuff. And so I was focused on that. I was not focused on me. I was focused on giving to the audience, giving to the club. How can I leave this place better than the way I found it? You know what I mean? They trusted me to do it. So, and it was, dude, it was so, the crowds were small enough that I could have a conversation. So the set was more conversational. You seen my set before. And so Funny Bone is a big stage. You almost have to perform. And this is more intimate, and you can have like these conversations. One beautiful young lady said November had 28 days. Like, that's it. And I was like, I'm sorry, what did you say? She said, yeah, it has 20. And she said, what? It does. I said, well, okay, to be fair, all months has 28 days. Are you saying November only has 28 days? She said, well, yeah, duh. And I was like, I said, oh my God, you are such an amazing spirit and beautiful, magnetizing. And it's a good thing, because with intellect like that, if you was ugly, you'd be bagging groceries at Kroger. Oh, and so there's a lot of that. And so then I take that and then I use it and bring my jokes, and I come back. And one guy got kicked out. He was trying to be funnier than me. And, you know, it was the absolute best time. And I've done a lot of performances, a lot of different places, headlined the Funny Bones before. But just in that, you know, growing up in that club, so to speak, it was just a great experience. So yeah, it was amazing.
I was excited for you, man. I love Go Bananas. I love the Cincinnati scene. I'll say I feel like you guys have the best scene in Ohio, and if I had to do it all over again, I would definitely start in Cincinnati. If I could transfer my job down there, I would definitely move to Cincinnati.
It's a solid scene. It's very supportive. A lot of shows, and we really, I mean, it gets a little cliquey depending on where you go, but if you get connected with some of the right people, they really just want to help you and help themselves and whatever, but they're not sharing. They will share. Cincinnati is a really good scene, and it's been developed and is worked. I think we got 3,800 people in the Cincinnati comedy group on the Facebook group. So and there's I mean, it's a thing that's been worked on for 10, 15 years. So
it definitely shows. It definitely shows. As we start to wrap this thing up here, I'm very interested to see who is going to be on your list of Mount Rushmore for comedians.
Is that the question?
Yeah.
Because
when I said it, I was like, that wasn't in a question form. But
Mount Rushmore for sure. Richard Pryor, for sure, just for his vulnerability that he shared. His ability to take risks. I mean, that's just a tough gig to talk about the most painful things in your life. And when you work a joke, it goes through all of this stuff. So how he was telling that stuff when it wasn't funny and made it funny. And he was doing it for the audience amusement. And so you had to be brave to do it, which also lends to why he was self-medicating. So he did that for us. And so he's definitely there. Patrice O'Neal, when I came back in 2011, Elephant in a Room had just come out. And I remember when he was delivering his premises and his setups, you could see him emoting in his face. He wasn't just saying it. He was like, ooh, and he was delivering that. So he's for sure there. I like Seinfeld for his work ethic and his thought process. It's meticulous, and he does it as a job. Seinfeld said, he said how many years you've done comedy is how old you are, and that will hopefully will help to frame your expectations. You've been doing it 4 years, so you're a 4-year-old. So don't think if you're not headlining shows, or don't try to rush to get a spot. You're 4 years old. Regardless of how good you are, imagine how old you'll be. A 4-year-old thinks the 4-year-old is the shit until they're 15 and they look back on it. So look at it for the long journey. So that's 3. It's 4 on Rushmore, right? So who's the 4th? So many great comics. I'll tell you. I wouldn't say he's a Rushmore. I think people would say Carlin, but I wasn't a big fan of Carlin. I appreciate what he did, but I wasn't a huge fan of him. Eddie Murphy was great, but he didn't have a lot of comedy albums. He took off and he was a comedic actor and whatever. But Chris Rock, really opinionated. I don't even know that I have a 4th, bro. I mean, I like so many comics and I've studied so many, but who would I put as a top? I'd have to get back to you on that, man.
Dang, no woman, huh?
Yeah, I don't have a 4th. I love a lot of comics and I appreciate them from a different way, but to say one is better than the other one, like I just saw the most recent Tom Segura special. I love the way he delivered his Patton Oswalt. I love the way he's done his stuff or his material and all the stuff he went through in life. I like people who take their life experiences on stage, which I think that's comedy. I think a lot of times people, maybe it was a disagreement. It wasn't really a disagreement for me. You shoot at the basket, some people don't shoot at your baskets. But my philosophy is that I'm not on stage to make you laugh. You laugh as a result. I'm on stage to communicate and share with you my perspective, my life, my worldview, and do it in a funny, entertaining way so that you can get it. That's how I look at it. That's a personal thing. It's not better or worse. That's just my thing. But I think people to do it for laughs, you can fart and laugh. People laugh. I'm not there for your laughter. The laughter is like a chef saying, I'm there to take care of your hunger. That's not what a chef's job is. The chef's job is to create a meal so that you have an experience. The result is you're not going to be hungry anymore. But the chef's job is to make sure that this whole dining experience that you are kind of go on a journey. So I like comics that do that. So I don't know. I think
I tell people, like, when I'm on stage, I'm just up there giving my testimony. That's just what I see it as. Like, that's how I see it.
And that sets you apart and that makes you unique. And if you're just trying to be funny, you're just trying to be like everybody else. And that becomes hack. I think if you're trying to be authentic, as long as it takes, I mean, sometimes I'd rather take 2 years to come up with new material and be authentic than to just try to jump on the train and tell some slappy jokes or whatever just to make people laugh. So,
What words of encouragement or advice would you have for any comedian out there? I mean, you already gave us so many gems. If you could just give us one more, what words of encouragement do you have for any comedians listening to this right now?
I would say 2 things. One, realize that this is a relationship business. Being funny is 10% of it. 90% of it is a business, and part of that is the relationship. So when you're going into a situation, getting booked or trying to ask for bookings, or somebody's put you on a show, recognize and try to add value to that person. Don't go in thinking I'm funny and they're lucky to have me. It's not that. It's a business. And so how can I add value to the other person? So look at that. Relationships, when it's really important, and I'm not really good at this, but the hang after, it's like what we're doing now, but doing it in person. That's really important. And I think a lot of connections. Jeff Tate just was on Tom Segura's world tour because Jeff is a great guy to hang with. Some people, he rubs some people the wrong way. I love Jeff. And so I think depending upon if you're able to connect with him and accept him as he is, and he respects you, then it takes you to other places. So relationships are super important. So when you're at shows and you're coming to open mics, don't just do your set and bounce, because that makes it about you. You can try to be there to be supportive of the other people and try to be encouraging if you're just laughing at jokes or whatever. And those people, all the rising tides raises all boats or lowers all boats. And so just make sure that you're trying to add as much to your community as value to your community as you can. And then I said, and then the other thing was, I think there was both wrapped up in the one. The other thing was that it is a business. And so you have to recognize that. So you have to do the work, just like you go to do your job, like writing every day, marketing. It's just choice consequence. So you don't have to do those things, but I think you should know what those things are. And then if you choose not to do it, not to get on the reels, not to write the material, not to drive. You guys coming down from Columbus to Cincinnati, I love it. And I start thinking, how many times have I driven up to Columbus? You know, I don't really drive much because I got my life that I have. That's why I haven't done that, but it's choice consequence. So I don't get booked a lot in Columbus, or it's not that I can't work there, but I'm just not there, and I don't complain about it. So don't complain about the choices or the consequences that come from the choices that you make. But if you want those big consequences, you have to make choices in that. So it's a business. Treat it like a business. Market and you know, just stay encouraged, bro. There's ups and downs. Be in it for the long. There's one thing I think: have a quit date. Set a date that you're going to quit comedy, and don't quit until that date. So if you're going to say it's 5 years, then put 5 years. And no matter what happens, somebody should throw shit at you, like literally shit. Don't quit if it's not on your date. Find your date and then put it on there. And so then that, what people used to say when I said that, they would think, so you tell me I'm going to quit? I'm not telling you to quit. It's just how you see it. What I'm saying is pick a date, and then no matter what happens, you stick in it and do that. And then when you get to that date, if you want to do it, set another date. But, you know, be persistent in that. So I don't know. But it's a long game, bro. People want the superstar stuff, or these, you know, the Instagram and the, you know, it's a long, people are spend 15, 20 years, become overnight successes. So just kind of hang in there, be authentic, and, you know, leave the world a better place, I guess. I don't know, bro. I have no idea. I mean, I started out being on the bed with these and the cats, bro. Can you get a Rottweiler up? Put a Rottweiler on my shit, or at least one of them or something, bro. And I get you got satin pink sheets. I mean, listen, it is you, it's whatever, but I'm just saying, bro. You got script fonts, the cats with the do rags, the what's it called? What's that? Not a do rag.
It's a do rag.
A wrap. I mean, I get it. I wanted. Could you have a lion, maybe a panther or some shit? Like just on this video, on this episode, if you could just put like something with some, and put blood on the mouth too, like, like you know what I'm saying? If you go do that, just no. But I appreciate talking to you, man. It's really I hadn't had a chance to really connect with you other than those a couple times you came down. You're always welcome down, but it's really great. I would stay encouraged. I think I saw a post that you made a little while ago about being yourself. No, a couple of days ago, maybe, about just trying to be yourself and authentic. And that's 1,000. You're on the right line there. Definitely do that. But you will have to come out of your box a little bit. You gotta. Oh yeah. You're performing. You know, when you're on stage, you got to do that shit. So,
I think it's because I tell my counselors, I feel like since I've been doing comedy, my life has just been chaotic, and so I'm just trying to get myself together. And she just told me, like, she feel as if, well, she said that she's hearing me say that my life is in transition. So I'm just trying to figure that part out. And too, like, so many people be so like in people's faces. I try to be like laid back in the cut. You know, I don't try to force anything. I try to be like organic with it.
Well, you can do that, but you have to be strategic, because you can lay in the cut. You know, with it, closed mouths don't get fed. So you just kind of got to navigate the thing, but whatever it is that you're comfortable with. But, you know, for me, I don't have anxiety. My children have that sometimes. So I don't even pretend to know what it's like on the other side of it. For me, two things. So not a super religious person, but a very, very spiritual person. And I believe, and particularly in the Bible, which is religion, so it's kind of odd that I go there, but, you know, God or universe is all things. Yeah. So we are connected to all things. Everything that's intended to make your life perfect as your definition or horrible, we're connected to it all. And so we're valuable. We have value because of those things. And so that should give you confidence in knowing who you are. But generally, when you're dealing with this anxiety, as you're projecting forward to something that you don't know how these dots connect. Yeah. it's important to know that that doesn't exist. Your therapist probably said that too. The past doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is right now. I'm going to head to go bananas in 5 minutes. That doesn't exist right now with me and you. So when you stay present, that's where you find peace. So if you start feeling less than peaceful, you're probably not present. So just kind of come back to that. And then does being on stage help your anxiety, hurt your, or how does that fit into all of that?
I feel like it only ramps it up if it's a new joke and I'm just trying to, and I not necessarily don't feel confident in it, but like I'll be like, okay, what's next? Like what's like trying to memorize it. So what I've been trying to do is like, don't go up there and try to memorize it. You already wrote it, you already practiced it. If you forget it, you forget it. It's not the end of the world. Just go up there and say it. And ever since I've been doing that, come up with new tags. Like new ways to like come up with a new joke or stuff like that. So I've been focusing more on that. And to piggyback on what you said, my counselor, she was just saying like when you deal with like depression, that's dealing with your past, when you deal with anxiety, that's dealing with your future. So I have this year is just really just been like trying to stay in the moment, like not, like when I go to the mic, not thinking like, oh, okay, like I'm a kill. It's like, no, we're just gonna go up there and we're gonna see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Like it just.
And the perspective is important. I remember doing a show with Hannibal Buress, and it was at the Taft Theater, huge audience, and it was really, really big. And I started getting nervous, and I usually don't. And what calmed me down was thinking about the audience, not me. If you make it about your joke, about you and how well you do, that's putting pressure on you, which creates anxiety. But if you think I'm already funny, these people parked or got a babysitter or did whatever they're doing, they just want to have a good time. Let me just give them a good time. And you make that energy about them, that may help in calming you because you're not thinking about you. And then as it relates to your jokes, it's definitely not about the words. 93% of all communication is nonverbal. And so if you were to tell a story, you'd understand the concepts. Like when you tell me about your dad with the shoes, you don't have the words all mapped out, but you do remember how you just communicate. You're painting a picture. So you can just have the bullet points of the joke. And then when you're on stage, just relax and just know that part when you're on stage, don't put so much pressure on it, just deliver it. Then the other stuff will become funny. It's a process. A perfect joke comes from writing, performing, editing, performing, editing, and you have to do that. You're not going to walk up there with the stuff you put on paper and it's just going to be bulletproof. That's not how it works. So you need that process in order to do that. So if that helps,
one thing that helped me, I don't have it in here. I think his name is John Vorhaus or Voris. He wrote the comedic tool book. I heard him do an interview on Hot Breath podcast, and he was like, he's like, man, just go up there and have fun. Like, just think about having fun. And ever since I've been doing that, like it's been easier. So like if I take my notepad up there where I just write down what jokes I'm telling, I'll write on the bottom of it, just have fun. Yeah. And that's been helping like a lot.
I mean, why would you want to do it if it's not fun?
Yeah.
You just want it's when you get in the game 10 more years, you realize that you should do that earlier. Just have fun. That's just what it's all about. And if you're not having fun, then get off the stage. So whatever you're doing that's creating in a space where it's not fun, or you have these really, really highs and really, really lows, that's on you. You're making choices that are taking you that way. If you make the choice just to have fun and relax and just share your gift, if you weren't funny, you wouldn't be on stage. So don't go up there trying to be funny. That's not, you're already funny. Just go up there and relax. What you aren't sometimes is calm. So focus on being calm and just relax and just I tell myself when I'm on stage and if I get nervous, listen, I already know I'm funny. These people just haven't experienced it yet. So I'm going to give them the gift of that perspective and that humor. And it just calms me. And then it turns, you're going to get a little eager to get on stage. I hesitate to say anxious, but having that excitement is a good thing because it means you care. But it's just about giving to, it's like making a steak and you make the bomb steak. And then you like, I can't wait till they taste this steak. This shit is going to be popping. That's how it should be. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Not, are they going to like the steak? You already know. If they don't like the steak, something wrong with them. You'd have made it 100 times. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway. All right,
bro. Tell people why they should listen to Comedians in Bed.
I mean, for real authentic conversations, bro. I think it depends on the person who you get, your guest, and it just goes. But I think you get different aspects of it. This is a great podcast. You asked amazing questions that kind of get at it, and you steer the ship, and you just is very insightful questions. At least in this interview, and the other ones that I've seen you do. I think it's just an amazing conversation. You know, you take the bed out of it and the shit.
Brian, where can people reach you at, man?
Hey, man. So you changed King of Zamunda to @Brian_million. So you could do, they could reach me there, or Brian Million, no underscore on Facebook. So that's the main thing. I'm starting doing a lot of reels. And so I also put them on Facebook and then threads. All of it except for Facebook is Brian_million, and then on Facebook it's just Brian Million is where they can reach me.
And if you want to watch next week's episode, we go live every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on my YouTube channel, TYE Comedy. Be sure to check us out on IG at Comedians in Bed Podcast. We want to thank Brian Million again, aka the Prince of Zamunda. Please check him out. King of Zamunda.
King of Zamunda. And Brian was on episodes of Comedians in Bunk Beds. Twin bunk beds. Like we was twins. It's like I was underneath. Hey, so what up, Ty? Yeah, just laid out these silk sheets you got up here.
Hey, Brian,
man. What you doing, Ty?
Brian, we appreciate you, man.
Thanks, man.
For stopping in with us today. We'll see you guys.